learning process. They're not distinct, but they're tasks that you have to cover. There's the administrative task, reading, things like reading, highlighting, note-taking. This is time-consuming and it's slow.
Хүндэт зочдоо та бүхэн орчуулгын төхөөрөмжөө өөрт тохирох хэлийг сурах тохируулан ашиглана. Англи хэлийг сонгох бол 2 дугаар суваг, Монгол Итали хэлийг сонгох бол 3 дугаар сувгийг сонгоно. Баярлалаа. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will be commencing shortly. There are translation devices available for your convenience. Please select channel number 2 for English translation, channel number 3 for Mongolian and Italian. We thank you to welcome to our event. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, ecumenical and interreligious meeting among His Holiness Pope Francis and religious groups in Mongolia will be commencing shortly. We kindly ask you to take your seats. Thank you very much.
On his way to Mongolia, he remarked to journalists that to go to Mongolia means going to a land that is numerically small regarding its population, but he said Mongolia seems to have no end. Yes, its inhabitants are few, a people few in number, but they have a great culture. I think it will do us good to understand the silence that's so vast and so big. It will help us understand what it means, not intellectually, but with the senses, he said. You have to understand Mongolia through your senses. He flew over 11 countries to get there: Italy, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and China. Of course, a few of these countries he has visited. And he was officially welcomed at the airport by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He took the rest of Friday off, and yesterday, on Saturday, he paid his customary courtesy visit to Mongolia's president and addressed members of government, civil authorities, the diplomatic corps, and then he met with the chairman of the State Great Chorale, which is the Parliament of Mongolia. And yesterday afternoon, he met with the bishops, priests, consecrated men and women, and pastoral workers in the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul. Now, it's just 10 o'clock in the morning in Mongolia. And the place where this event is being held is called the Hun Theatre. The theater is built in the shape of a gur or yurt, which is an ancient portable dwelling of the nomads living in Central Asia. It has an opening in the center. It's covered with felt. And these gurts or yurts have been the primary style of home in Central Asia, and particularly in Mongolia, for thousands of years. This yurt or gurt also appears on the logo for the trip, which also has Mongolian script. The writing of the motto for this trip, which is hoping together. We'll be seeing the various leaders here. There are 11 different leaders from the various religions in Mongolia who will be speaking today. We have representatives from the Buddhist tradition, Shaman tradition, Islamic tradition, the Evangelical tradition, the Orthodox tradition, the Seventh-day Adventist tradition, the Mormon tradition, the Hindu tradition, the Jewish tradition, the Shinto tradition, and Baha'i. We should be hearing short messages from each of these leaders as we await the Holy Father's arrival. We can see in the backdrop there the image of a gurt along with cattle alongside, truly a symbol of Mongolia. This is the first ever visit of a pope to Mongolia, where less than 1% of the population is Catholic and under 2% are Christian, just under 2% are Christian. So this highlights Pope Francis's dream, you might say, or vision of visiting the peripheries. This is not the country with the fewest number of Catholics that he has visited, however. The population here is still very nomadic. And Vatican News spoke recently with a dentist, Dr. Amar Saikan Bazar, who's a dentist who also is a part of a charitable organization. And he provided just a brief overview of the country's history. He said in the 15th century is when the country began being heavily influenced by Buddhism. And that lasted for about 400 years. Then he said the country was primarily dominated by communism from 1921 to 1992. And he recalled how under communism, he said, we didn't know anything about Christianity. Everything was prohibited and nothing was allowed. And in 1995, there were an estimated 14 Catholics in the country. It's definitely missionary territory. In fact, they have an apostolic prefect. His name is Cardinal Giorgio Marengo. He was elevated to the College of Cardinals last August. He's the first consolata missionary in Mongolia, and he holds a doctorate in missiology from the Pontifical Urbaniana College here in Rome, which is under the Propaganda Fide, or the Dicastery for Evangelization. And he first was assigned to the mission in Mongolia in 2003, but exercised pastoral ministry there from the year 2000. And on April 2nd, 2020, he was appointed apostolic prefect. As we hear, the Holy Father is now being introduced. He's being accompanied here by His Eminence Kambat Nomun Khan, the director of the Center of Mongolian Buddhists, whom we should be hearing from. He will be providing the greeting on behalf of the other religious leaders here. Everyone on their feet. We see the Vatican delegation also in attendance in the front. A leader came up onto the podium and offered our Holy Father something there. And now the greeting from the leader of the Center for Mongolian Buddhists.
Монголын үндэсний хөгжим морин хуурын тоглолт, олон улсын хөгжмийн уралдааны тэргуун байрын шагналт морин хуурч Shinto гэн, Mongolian traditional musical performance, horse fiddler Shinto гэн, first prize winner of international musical competitions.
We've been hearing someone play the morin kur. It's a traditional Mongolian instrument. It's the strings and the bow are made of horsehair, so it's also known as a horsehead fiddle.
Хэдийн тэргүүн их хамлам номхон Монголд төвтэй Азийн буддистийн их тайвны баг хурлын ерөнхийлөгч, Япон улсад төвтэй дэлхийн буддистийн дэд хэмжээний чуулганы ерөнхийлөгч гавж Chögyam's таныг нээлтийн үг хэлнө хэмээн урьж байна. Now we are pleased to invite His Eminence Ham Namuhang Chögyam's Temple, President of Asian Buddhist Conference for Peace, Mongolia, President of Buddhist Summit, Japan, abbot of Gandandikchling Monastery and the head of Century of the Mongolian Buddhists for opening speech.
Орон эрдэнэ бишрэнгүйгээр мөрөгмөө Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгч хөрөл сүхийн урилгаар Монгол улсад төрийн айлчил хийж вэ.
I take refuge in the Three Nobles' jewels. Kindly allow me to extend my warmest greetings to Your Holiness Pope Francis, the head of the State of the Vatican, paying an official visit to Mongolia at the invitation of His Excellency, Mr. Korelsuk Ukana, the President of Mongolia. I am truly happy that this interfaith meeting of traditional religions is being organized on the occasion of the official visit of His Holiness, Pope Francis. I believe that although the world major religions such as Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, and Hindu are found philosophically different from each other in their worldviews, we have prayers and activities in common for the same aim, the welfare of humanity. In today's 21st century, humanity reached an exceptional height of the advancement of information and technology by the development of mind. But in the shadow of this external advancement, there is a potential risk for humanity to lose important inner values, such as loving kindness, compassion, morals, tolerance, forgiveness, and karma. Therefore, the aims and activities of all the traditional religions must fill in the mind with the above-mentioned inner values in order to contribute to creating a humanitarian and compassionate society. The ancestors of Mongolians adopted Buddhism since the time of the Xiongnu Empire, dating to the 2nd and 1st century BCE. Though they went through historical rises and declines, our ancestors took Buddhism or followed Buddhist moral codes to decrease instabilities in our former societies, while illuminating the people with its 10 specific knowledges. On the other hand, Buddhism played the most significant role to strengthen the spiritual independence, which is a basis of national independence. Due to the influence of political ideology that has taken place in the past, Buddhism was severely suppressed. But after the National Constitution, adopted in 1992, the people obtained religious freedom. And as a consequence, Mongolian Buddhism is now being revived according to its original authenticity. The most significant and deserved result achieved is that His Holiness, the 10th Buddhist leader, was recognized recently and is taking both the religious, he's studying both religious and contemporary studies. This is a huge fortune for us. We Mongolian Buddhists have been dedicating our prayers to all the sentient beings of the six realms, particularly for regional and global peace. At the same time, we have been actively engaged in interfaith dialogue with other world traditional religions and supporting the principles of mutual respect, harmonious coexistence, environmental awareness, both at the regional and global levels. As these principles are initiated for the welfare of all of humanity, we solemnly support such interfaith partnership and reflect our voice of peace expressed internationally in our activities. Also in the in the area of human rights, we Mongolian Buddhists respect others' rights not to believe, but undoubtedly we always keep those in the core of our prayers, in the heart of our prayers, center of our prayers. Buddhist teachings on keeping the balance of environment and living beings shaped the principles for Mongolians to deal properly with nature over many centuries. Hence, it is one of our duties to disseminate and pass down these principles to modern and future generations. I firmly believe that this historic interfaith meeting of traditional religions gives great inspiration to people of various religious traditions for working harmoniously for all of humanity. Finally, on behalf of Mongolian Buddhists and myself, bringing my palms together, I wish you long life, Your Holiness. May all the sentient beings be happy.
His Eminence Hamlam, Chief of Abbot of Zunghure District Monastery, Damjo Chejuljao.
Now we'll be hearing from the Chief Abbot of one of the monasteries. Your Holiness, also Buddhist, on behalf of all Mongolian Buddhists, allow me to extend to you a warm welcome, as well as our heartfelt gratitude for your visit. I would also like to thank all those who have made this dialogue possible. It is a great honor for me to represent Mongolian Buddhists on this auspicious occasion. Current events show that religion continues to exert a powerful influence on contemporary life. For this influence to develop in a constructive way, it is essential that we all become more open-minded in dealing with people of other mindsets, including those who oppose religion itself. We must learn to listen to and ponder views that seem contrary to our own, for it is only by doing so that we can understand the basic principles that underlie all religions, and indeed the human mind itself. In my opinion, there are two principles that support our life in the same way. The two pillars support the Mongolian ger, the round traditional house in which our nomads still live. Those principles are peace and harmony. On the surface, these both seem to be a mere absence of conflict, but actually, they are the positive conditions that make possible the cultivation of the spirit. At present, the rapid increase in depression, addiction, and other types of mental illness around the world shows that technological change without spiritual development is indeed a fragile house. And so it is urgently necessary that religions join together to rediscover the approaches to life that cultivate inner peace and outer harmony. Buddhist teaching on peace means, first of all, dynamic tranquility within our hearts, the silent link with the divine, while harmony means love, understanding, and cooperation with others. They seek to establish an equally open and diversified exchange and cooperation for the people who love the world care for life, and cherish loving kindness and compassion. Therefore, we must become what our greatest leaders were, seekers. That means going beyond our own traditions to explore other religions and science in search of solutions to the spiritual impasse that humanity now faces. May all beings find peace and happiness.
Монголын бөөгийн нэгдсэн эвлэлийн ерөнхийлөгч жаргал сайхан Mr. Жаргал сайхан President of Corporate Union of Mongolian Shamans.
We'll now hear from the President of the United Union of Mongolian Shamans. We are Mongolians who worship the eternal heaven. Mongolian heaven worshippers are gratefully promoting the state visit of Pope Francis to Mongolia at the invitation of Mongolian President. Heaven worship is an expression of the umbilical connection between the nature of the earth and the universe, which has been developed and passed down since the creation of humans. It has its own unique characteristic of worshipping the eternal heaven, Emperor Kingis, ancestors and parents. Eternal heaven is nationalism, Mongolian pride, civilization, rituals, customs, and order, and that has been a God that has been worshipped by my heavenly people for generations. We Mongolians have spent hundreds of years worshipping heaven, which is a precious link between the state and citizens. This is a long-standing, difficult, painful, and instructive history of religion and worship. Our heaven worship includes a wide range of issues such as the Mongolian philosophy of human nature relationship, respect for ancestors, the state and governance, foreign relations, military politics, society, culture, literacy, economy, infrastructure, monetary policy, tax regulation, and nomadic livestock farming. Once, when the Mongols were powerful and defined the relations between states and powers on the continents of the world, all religions under the eternal heaven had a tradition of equal and mutually respectful relations. This event recalls all this, as well as the ancient relationship between the Holy See and the Mongols. We lost our national roots of heaven worship and then started going down the path of decline. For over 300 years, the worship of heaven was persecuted and restricted by the strict laws and restrictions of foreign governments. Because of this, people practiced the ritual in hiding for 80 years, and less than 1% of the population worshipped. It does not mean that we Mongolians stopped worshipping heaven, but historically the freedom to practice our national worship has declined, and there have been strict restrictions. We cannot forget those times in history when heaven worship which is an inseparable part of human history, became united and stronger, and when it was weakened by contradictions under the pressure of foreign policy and the pressure of a foreign state. The great changes that took place in Mongolia in the 1990s allowed true freedom for honoring the national religion. Our aim is to have honesty prevail over all, that nobles and citizens have equal relations and respect, and honor their ancestors who created heroic history, and young adults who will work faithfully for their country, that young people will take care of their children, that a powerful Mongolian state will develop, and in a new era, our unique nomadic culture will grow and spread, and that people around the world will wonder and look at it with interest. We aim to restore the tradition of worshiping and honoring our Mongolian national roots, eternal heaven, protecting pristine nature, the motherland, and great wealth that has been preserved under its soil, and the national spirit left by our ancestors. We are working to lay the foundations to develop, introduce, and promote the organizations that preserve shamanic traditions and pass down the rituals to the next generation. It has not been long since the establishment of the Organization of Heaven Worship, which is the root of the Mongolian nation. We do not have buildings. We gather in the open nature and do our rituals. It's not easy, but we're optimistic about the future. We're recovering. Now is a good time for us to honor the worship of heaven, which is a national characteristic. We agreed to express our opinion about the Mongolian ger. There is fresh air to breathe, pristine nature to live in peace, nomadic civilizations that worship it, the worship of heaven that is an integral part of it. The Mongolian gur is for living in peace. All this is a complex symbol of many things in the life of us Mongolians. The Mongolian gur is a small part of the world, but it contains all the processes of human life. Freedom, the coexistence of humans and nature, the expression of peace, and even our gods. This is another feature of our worship. The Mongolian gur is multifaceted. The worship of eternal heaven, therefore, will continue and will be practiced by people from generation to generation. May the eternal blue sky and the Holy Spirit of emperors bless us. May there be peace in the world forever. Holy Father, Pope Francis, I wish you good health and a long life.
Монголын мусульманы нийгэмлэгүүдийн холбооны тэргүүн Dr. Hadis Butterbeck. Mr. Butterbeck Hadis, Chairman of the Muslim Association in Mongolia.
And from the Islamic tradition in Arab. Dear Pope Francis, welcome to our country, which has a deep history, a broad future, and has left its mark on world history. I have come to greet you on behalf of the Muslim community, which is part of the Mongolian people. While we are very excited about your visit, all religious leaders express their desire to visit each other on such a revolutionary level. Even in the pages of history dating back to the 15th century, we can see interfaith relations. Indeed, our beloved Prophet Muhammad had peacefully sent a letter to the heads of state and leaders of every religion, introducing himself and inviting them to religion. In today's era of communication development, interreligious mediation is considered indispensable in international political relations. The world is a gur, a home. To keep the world orderly and peaceful, we must live together as brothers in this gur. There is a beautiful saying in the Mongolian language that is, first prepare yourself, then build your house. Once you have built your house, lead your state. I would like to add to this word, once you have established your state, value order and morality to build peace and harmony in the world. There are many divisions in the world that we are required to address through the promotion of a culture of peace and respect for diversity, and through the implementation of peaceful gestures such as today's interreligious meeting, for which we are very grateful. We join with all the religious communities present here today to ensure that in today's society there is respect for all sacred values and all religions. Let me conclude with a quote from the Quran that helps us to live in the world like brothers inside a gur. Allah the Almighty says in verse 108 of the chapter Angam of the sacred Quran, and do not insult those who invoke other than Allah, lest they insult Allah in enmity without knowledge. Thus we have made pleasing to every community their deeds. Then to their Lord is their return, and we will inform them about what they used to do. This implies that we should respect each other's beliefs and not ridicule, insult, or provoke others. Dear Pope, I think your visit will make a very fruitful contribution to interreligious mediation, negotiations, and international relations. Thank you for respectfully listening.
Тэдний Аллахаас өөр бурхан хэмээн мөргөж буй бурхтыг бүү харагдтун. Хэрэг тэгвэл тэд хэмээс хэтэрч ухааргүйгээр Аллахыг хараах болно. Ийхүү бид алив хүн ардын итгэл үнэмшил, аш хараншингийн өөрсд гоёмсог сайхан харуулсан эцсийн эцэст тэд Аллахын өмнө цогдох болно. Аллах тэдний юу хийснийг өөрсдөд нь тайлбар хэлж өгнө. Эндээс ойлгогдож байгаагаар бид бие биенийхээ итгэл үнэмшилд хүндэтгэлтэй хандаж, тохурахгүй, доромжлохгүй, өдөөн хатгсан үйлдэл гаргахгүй байх ёстой. Эрхэм Папалам, таны аялал шашин хоорондын зуучлал, хэлэлцээ, олон улсын харилцаанд нэн үр өгөөжтэй хум нэмэр оруулан гэдэгт итгэж байна. Айлчил чинь дахин талархал илэрхийлье. Хүндэтгэлтэйгээр сонссон танд маш их баярлалаа.
Монголын Evangelical эвслийн төлөөлөн удирдах зөвлөлийн дарга цагаан өвгөний алтан цааж, Mr. Алтан цааж цагаан өвгөн, Chairman of the Board Director of Mongolian Evangelical Alliance.
Now from the Evangelical tradition.
777 жилийн дараа айлчлан ирж байгаа гигэн ширээт улсын төрийн тэргүүн Пап Францис та Монгол тавтаа морилно гэж бас нийт Монголын Христ итгэгчдийн өмнөөс урьж байна.
Evangelical Christian ethics emphasizes the authority of the Bible as the ultimate source of morality. It places a strong focus on the importance of a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and the need for salvation through faith. Key principles of evangelical Christian ethics include biblical authority. The Bible is considered the inspired and inerrant Word of God, serving as the foundation for all ethical decisions and behavior. Faith and salvation. Evangelicals believe in the necessity of personal faith in Jesus Christ for salvation, emphasizing the importance of individual conversion and spiritual rebirth. Love and compassion. Following the example of Jesus, evangelical ethics emphasize showing love, compassion, and kindness to others, including those in need. Sanctity of life. Evangelicals believe in the intrinsic value and sanctity of human life, from conception to natural death, opposing practices such as abortion and euthanasia. Marriage and family. Evangelicals uphold the traditional view of marriage as between one man and one woman, considering it as the foundational institution of society. Sexual purity. Evangelical ethics promote sexual purity, advocating abstinence before marriage and faithfulness within marriage. Social justice. While there can be variations, many evangelicals emphasize social justice, seeking to address issues of poverty, inequality, and oppression. Personal responsibility. Evangelicals believe in individual responsibility and accountability for one's actions, as well as the belief in personal moral growth and transformation. Evangelism and mission. Evangelicals are often passionate about sharing their faith and engaging in missions to spread the gospel to others. It's important to note that within evangelical Christianity there can be some diversity of perspectives and interpretations on certain ethical issues.
Бусдад сайн мэдээг хүргэх илгээлтэнд бид байн оролцдог. Евангелийн эвсэл нь өөрөө Азийн Евангелийн эвслийн гишүүн, Дэлхийн Евангелийн эвслийн гишүүний хувьд Монголын Евангелийн эвсэл нь мөн өөрсдийн дуу хоолойг бүхий л евангелчуудад уриалсаар байдаг. Евангелийн Христ итгэлтнүүдийн доторч ялгаатай байх бөгөөд ёс зүйн асуудлуудыг бид өөрөөр үзэх нь бий. Ямартай ч дээрх зарчмуудын гол үндэс нь үнэлэмж болдог. Эдгээр зарчмыг Монголын Евангелийн Христ итгэлтнүүд чуулгануудтай тунхаглаж, зааж хүмүүсийн амьдралд хэвшүүлэхээр өнөөдрийг хүртэл бид тэмцэж байна. Ийхүү Францис Папта Монголд үргэлжлүүлэн тав тухтай аялна уу хэмээн Монголын Христ итгэгчдийн Евангелийн эвслийн зүгээс дахин танд урилга болон хүлээж байна. Бурхан Монголыг ивэх болтугай.
Үнэн алдарчны гигэн гурвын сумын ширет лам Anthony Govis. Mr. Anthony Govis, Rector of Orthodox Church.
Ваше Святейшество, рад приветствовать вас на монгольской земле. Я являюсь настоятелем единственного православного храма в Монголии, который
Your Holiness, I am pleased to welcome you to the Mongolian land. I am the rector of the only Orthodox Church in Mongolia, which is dedicated to the Holy Trinity. I would like to briefly tell you about the history of Orthodoxy in Mongolia and describe its current state. Due to Mongolia's history being closely linked to Russia's, the first information about the entrance of Orthodoxy from Russia to these lands dates back to the 12th and 13th centuries. One of the most notable moments of the Mongols' encounter with Orthodoxy is related to the first Mongol saint, Peter of Orda, the great-grandson of Genghis Khan and the nephew of Khan Berk. He was deeply moved by Orthodoxy and secretly fled to Rostov, where he was baptized. Over time, St. Peter built a church and a monastery in honor of the holy apostles Peter and Paul near Lake Nero in the Yaroslavl region of Russia. In general, there were many saints of Mongolian origin in Rus. The great-grandson of the Mongol Noyan Amir Khan, the Vladyaka of Vladimir, Saints Paphnutius of Borovsk, the founder of the Pafnutiev Monastery, the Mongol Noyon Buga, the Baskak in the city of Veliki Ustyug, who was canonized as Venerable John of Ustyug for his service to the faith. With the opening of the Russian consulate in Urga, or Ulaanbaatar, in 1861, which is now Ulaanbaatar, the construction of the first Orthodox Church in Mongolia began, and on April 4th, 1984, it should be 1884, I think, the first liturgy was celebrated in Holy Trinity Church. Unless it may have been 1961 when the Russian consulate was opened. Before the revolution, the last rector of Holy Trinity Parish was Father Fyodor Parniakov from Irkutsk. In addition to preaching, he was actively involved in social and humanitarian activities. He opened a public library, cared for prisoners, and helped the disadvantaged. But his activities were not limited to Urga. Father Fyodor often made trips to the most remote areas of Mongolia, covering distances of up to 1,500 versts on horseback. The priest described in great detail the life of Russian colonists and the local population. In 1921, after driving out the Chinese troops, Urga was captured by Russian General Baron Ungern von Sternberg. It sounds like he's finishing.
7 дахь өдрийн Adventist чуулганы ерөнхий нарийн бичиг October Adieho. Mr. Adieho October, Secretary General, Seventh-day Adventist Church.
And now we'll hear from the Seventh-day Adventist representative.
Эрхэм хүндэт Pope Francis Монголд ирээд шашны байгууллага бидний дуу хоолойг бас үжил сургаалыг сонсох боломжийг өгсөн танд талархаж байна. За бид шашны байгууллагууд Монгол гэр гэдэг сэдв доор өөрсдөө
As we know, the Mongolian ger is the traditional home of Mongolians. When we think of the ger, we feel it's home sweet home, where father, mother, and children are together. And a happy home or a happy family is foundational for human life. The Seventh-day Adventist Church believes that every home should be a little heaven on earth. To make our home happy is a little heaven on earth. The Seventh-day Adventist Church emphasizes 4 aspects of human life: the physical, mental, social, and spiritual. When these 4 aspects of life are well balanced, we can create a happy home and a happy life. The physical aspect of life concerns the health of our body and includes healthy food, exercise, rest, sunshine, etc. A healthy lifestyle is to be practiced first and foremost in our homes. Then mental development involves true knowledge about life itself. Proper education can make a person's life prosperous and industrious. Every mother is the first teacher of her children, and the education received at home serves as a guiding principle of our future life. Social development is about relationship and communication. Every person should acquire good communication skills in order to live in our society. As a Christian church, our most important function in the world is to love and to care, as human beings should love one another. The Mongolian Gur is the best place for fellowship. There is little privacy, and everyone is in one big circular room with a warm atmosphere. The Mongolian Gur is always open for people to enter into. It is a symbol of Mongolian hospitality. Lastly, the spiritual aspect of human life is very important. It gives meaning and purpose to life. Every head of a family should be the spiritual leader of the household. From early days, Mongolians respected their elders and reverently admired their teachings, wisdom, and ethics. Living in a gur is a perfect place for the kind of life that allows us to make a little heaven on earth, which consists of our loved ones, nature, and God.
Тэдний сургаал, ёс зүй, мэргэн ухааныг дээдлж ирсэн. Монгол гэрт амьдрах нь хүн байгаль болоод бурхантай ойрхон байдаг тул дэлхий дээрх бяцхан диваачин мэт амьдралыг бий болгоход үнэхээр таатай орчин юм аа.
Иесус Христийн хожим үеийн гэгэнтнүүдийн сүмийн ажлын албаны захирал Төвшин Жаргал, Мисс Төвшин Жаргал, Director of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Pope Francis.
And now the representative of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Your Holiness Pope Francis, esteemed religious leaders, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow seekers of truth. I stand before you today as a representative of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I am humbled to be able to speak about our faith and the values we hold dear. At the center of our belief system is Jesus Christ himself as the way, the truth, and the life, and his teachings are the guiding light that illuminates our path. The gur for our religious tradition represents shelter and unity. Jesus Christ serves as the unifying force that strengthens and brings us all together. He taught us to love one another, to seek understanding and compassion, and to strive for harmony amidst our diversity. His teachings inspire us to protect and cherish our families, to ensure the well-being of children, and to strengthen marriage. In the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we are brothers and sisters, all children of the same eternal Father. We invite all to follow the example of Jesus Christ, to study his words and to pattern our lives after his divine attributes. He is our exemplar of love, forgiveness, and selflessness. He showed us how to care for the poor, the marginalized, and the oppressed, just as the gur shelters those in need. By emulating his life, we aim to create a society that reflects his teachings of inclusivity, justice, freedom, and compassion. May the symbol of the Mongolian gur serve as a reminder of our commitment to follow Jesus Christ, to study his words, to be like him, and to believe in him. In doing so, we rely on each other like the nomads on the steppe, and symbolically welcome each other to stay for the night in our gur, and treat each other to milk, tea, food, and erag. In our shared journey, which can be challenging at times, we can create a world where love prevails, where families are strengthened, and where all God's children find hope, acceptance, peace, and purpose. Thank you. In the tradition of my faith, I say these words in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Санхүү эдийн засгийн их сургуулийн зөвлөх доктор профессор Ramnath Taker. Dr. Ramnath Taker, Professor Consultant, PhD, University of Finance and Economics of Mongolia.
Who will be representing the Hindu tradition.
His Holiness,
distinguished invitees and friends. Good morning. I am thankful to the organizers for inviting me to this auspicious occasion. I feel it is a great honor for me to be associated with such an august gathering. The very presence of His Holiness in this gathering makes the atmosphere as very spiritual and divine. According to Hinduism, a spiritual leader is supposed to be one who has known the absolute reality and has developed a divine link with the God. Also, according to our scriptures, seeing or meeting a saint-like person or person like His Holiness will wash away all the sins of one's life. I am sure that His Holiness must have inspired many people. Further, through His blessings, many people must have found a meaningful way to their lives. Under the present circumstances, when chaos is present in many parts of the world and humanity is struggling for its survival, a personality like His Holiness will serve as a ray of hope to a meaningful existence of the world. According to Hinduism, all religions are respected and they are meant to know how to lead a moral life and to reach God. Thank you.
Юдэ Монгол Израилийн соёлын солилцооны төвийн гүйцэтгэх захирал Evangelical Parrot, Mr. Evangelical Parrot, Executive Director with Mongolia and Israel Cultural Exchange.
Your Holiness Pope Francis, it is a joy to have you among us in Mongolia. It is an historical visit here. We are just 2 weeks before the Jewish New Year called Rosh Hashanah, that will be celebrated according to the lunar calendar on the 15th of September. The name Rosh Hashanah translated to head of the year in Hebrew, signifying the beginning of the Jewish civil year. In Jewish tradition, Rosh Hashanah is not only observed as the new year for the Jewish people, but also carries broader significance as a day of judgment and renewal for the entire world. According to the Jewish beliefs, on Rosh Hashanah, God reviews and judges the action of humanity, not just the Jewish people, for the past year. Rosh Hashanah is often seen as a time for universal reflection and a reminder of the shared responsibility for making the world a better place. Jewish tradition emphasizes the concept of tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. This principle encourages individuals, regardless of their religious affiliation, to engaging in acts of kindness, charity, and social justice, seeking to bring healing and positive change to the world. In this sense, Rosh Hashanah serves as a reminder that the new year is an opportunity for growth and commitment to making positive contribution to the well-being of the global community. It invites individuals of all backgrounds to contemplate their actions, seek forgiveness, and strive for personal and collective improvement in the year ahead. The world and the humanity needed that with all the challenges we are facing worldwide. I will finalize my speech with the word peace, known as shalom in Hebrew, that is vision of harmonious and just world. And the blessing to your holiness. May the Almighty God bless and protect your holiness and grant your strength, wisdom, and compassion in your sacred duties as the leader of the Catholic Church. May you be source of inspiration and peace, promoting understanding and dialogue among all people of different faiths. May your efforts in spreading love, compassion, and justice contribute to a more harmonious and united world. May the Pope's work foster a spirit of unity and respect among all nations, religions, and cultures. May the Almighty guide you in all your endeavors and bless you with good health and long life. Amen. And the last, I would like to thank to the government of Mongolia for hosting and respecting the different religions in Mongolia and providing the freedom to maintain the belief of everyone with no limitation. Thank you.
Shinto шашны Омото Монгол төвийн гүйцэтгэх захирал Далхчуу Банзрагч, Mr. Банзрагч Далхчуу, Executive Director of Shinto Religion Омото Монгол Center.
За бүгдээрэндний өдрийн мэнд хүргэе. Омото байгууллага нь Японы уламжлалт.
The Omoto organization is a traditional Japanese Shinto religious organization founded in 1892. Omoto's founder founded the Association of World Religions in Beijing in 1925, saying that all religions flow from the same source. He also founded the Universal Association of Love and Brotherhood in Ayabe Province, Japan, to transcend not only the boundaries of religion but also of race and ethnicity to create harmony for all mankind. We are all active as pioneers in interreligious dialogue. In Mongolia, we are organizing the World Pilgrimage for Peace, the Charity Pilgrimage for the Future, and humanitarian aid activities in cooperation with the it's a Buddhist monastery and the AMDA organization. The Pope's visit to Mongolia is a great honor for me. Representing Japan, we participated in the meeting of religious women held in Rome last January under the auspices of the Dicastery for Interreligious Dialogue and others. The women of Oomoto are still participating in online meetings in this context. We would like to continue to support interreligious dialogue and work together to create a peaceful world. In closing, I would like to say a short prayer in Japanese for world peace.
감나가라 다마치 하에마세 감나가라 다마치 하에마세.
Монголын бахаачуудын үндэсний оюун санааны чуулганы гадаад харилцааны төшмөл Батхүү мөн биш Батхүү Officer External Relation for the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is Mongolia.
Эрхэм хүндэт ноён татагтай та бүхэндээ энэ өдрийн мэндийг хөтгөвшүүлье. Ромын Pope Francis Монгол
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to be part of this historic event, the visit of Pope Francis to Mongolia. The purpose of civilization is to help establish unity of humankind and build a divine civilization. Since ancient times, the spiritual teachings we have received by manifestations of God have found expression in religious systems, and true religion can be recognized by its fruits. Particularly, it can be recognized by its ability to awaken and transform the human mind, unite people, and promote peace and prosperity. Such religion is very important for the progress of society. From Baha'i writings. The Baha'i faith is a global and independent religion whose vision is to ensure the unity of all peoples through the oneness of religion of God and teachings. This faith is the youngest religion of this age, and now under the guidance of its supreme governing body, the Universal House of Justice, includes over 200 independent countries and territories, which could unite all races, classes, and professions of people. In each country and territory, there is a spiritual assembly serving as an administrative organization. Unity is the main principle of the teachings of Bahá'u'lláh, the manifestation of this era of God. He stated in his writings, "The earth is but one country and mankind its citizens." He also clearly stated the laws, principles, and institutions for world civilization, such as freedom from all prejudice, equality between men and women, recognition that all religions concern in essence one and the same God, elimination of extreme differences between the rich and the poor, universal access to compulsory education, the duty of each individual to seek the truth independently, creation of a world legal system based on the principles of universal security, and the harmonious relationship between religion, reason, and science, which are in fact one. According to Baha'u'llah, the manifestation of God of our age, there is no doubt that all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, or religion, draw inspiration from the one heavenly source and live under the one God. The Baha'is of the world are contributing to the process of building a new global civilization by organizing devotional meetings, spiritual education, children's classes, and junior youth empowerment and activities.
Pope Francis. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, His Holiness Pope Francis.
Buongiorno a tutti voi, cari fratelli e sorelle.
Good morning to all of you, dear brothers and sisters. Allow me to address you in this way. As a brother in faith to those who believe in Jesus Christ, and a brother to all of you in the name of our shared religious quest and our membership in the one human family. In terms of that religious quest, humanity can be compared to a band of wayfarers treading the earth with eyes lifted to heaven. It's important that a traveler from afar once observed that here in Mongolia he saw nothing but the sky and the earth. Here indeed the sky, so clear and blue, embraces this vast and imposing land to remind us of the two essential aspects of human life, the earthly, made up of our relationships with others, and the heavenly, consisting in our quest for the transcendent other. Mongolia thus reminds all of us, pilgrims and wayfarers, to lift our gaze on high in order to discern which path to follow on our journey here below. Therefore, I am happy to be with you for this significant moment of encounter. I thank each of you for your presence and for every one of the talks that have enriched our common reflection. The fact we are meeting together in one place, in the same place, is already a message. It shows that religious traditions, for all their distinctiveness and diversity, have impressive potential for the benefit of society as a whole. If the leaders of nation were to choose the path of encounter and dialogue with others, it would be a decisive contribution to ending the conflicts that continue to afflict so many of the world's peoples. The beloved Mongolian people have made it possible for us to come together for our mutual enrichment, for they can vaunt a history of coexistence between the followers of various religious traditions. It is impressive to think of Karakorum, the ancient imperial capital, which admirably housed within its walls places of worship belonging to different creeds, thus exemplifying a commendable harmony. I would like to stress this word in its typically Asian context. Harmony is that special relationship born of the creative interplay of differing realities without imposition or amalgamation, but with complete respect for their differences. So I ask myself, who, more than believers, are called to work for the harmony of everyone, brothers and sisters? The social significance of our religious traditions can be gauged by the extent to which we are capable of living in harmony with other pilgrims on this earth and can foster that harmony in the places where we live. Every human individual, and even more every religion, must be measured by the standard of altruism. Not altruism in the abstract, but in the concrete, an abstract that translates into concern for others and generous cooperation with them. For the wise man rejoices in giving, and by that alone does he become happy. Our Holy Father cited from the Buddhist Path of Wisdom, which can also be found in Acts 20:35, also a saying of Jesus. In the words of a prayer inspired by Francis of Assisi, where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is offense, let me bring pardon. Where there is discord, let me bring harmony. Altruism builds harmony, and wherever there is harmony, we find understanding, prosperity, and beauty. Harmony may well be the best synonym of beauty, whereas narrowness, unilateral imposition, fundamentalism, and ideological constraint destroy fraternity, fuel tensions, and compromise peace. The beauty of life is born of harmony, which is inherently communitarian. It flourishes through humility, kindness, listening, and those who are pure of heart embrace harmony. For true beauty, as Gandhi says, lies in purity of heart. The religions are called to offer the world this harmony, which technological progress alone cannot bestow, since in its concern with the earthly, horizontal dimension of humanity, it risks forgetting heaven for which we were made. Sisters and brothers, today we are meeting together as the humble heirs of ancient schools of wisdom. In our encounter with each other, we want to share the great treasure we have received for the sake of enriching a humanity so often led on its journey by the myopic pursuit of profit and material comfort, which makes us unable to find the right path. Concerned only with earthly interests, humanity ends up destroying the earth and making progress regress. As attested by so many injustices, conflicts, persecutions, environmental disasters, and great disregard for human life. Here, Asia has much to offer, and Mongolia, which lies at the heart of this continent, possesses a great patrimony of wisdom that its various religions have helped to create, and that I would like to urge all to explore and appreciate. I will limit myself to mentioning, albeit briefly, 10 aspects of this patrimony. A healthy relationship to tradition despite the temptations of consumerism, respect for elders and ancestors. How greatly do we need today a generational covenant between the old and the young, a dialogue between grandparents and grandchildren. Also care for the environment, our common home, another great and pressing need. We're in danger. Then, too, the value of silence and the interior life as a spiritual antidote to so many ills in today's world. Therefore, also a healthy sense of frugality, the value of hospitality, the ability to resist attachment to material objects, the solidarity born of a culture of interpersonal bonds, respect for appreciation for simplicity, and finally a certain existential pragmatism that tenaciously pursues the good of individuals and of the community. These 10 are some elements of the patrimony of wisdom that this country is able to offer the world.
A proposito delle vostre usanze, ho già parlato di come preparandomi a questo viaggio.
Speaking about these elements, I have already mentioned how, as I prepared for this journey, I was fascinated by the traditional dwellings that serve as an expression of the Mongolian people's wisdom accrued over millennia of history. The ger creates a human space within which the family life unfolds, friendly conviviality, encounter and dialogue, able to make room even in a crowd for each individual. Then, too, it is a concrete landmark. It's easily identifiable on the vast expanses of Mongolian territory. It is a source of hope for those who have lost their way. For wherever there is a ger, there is life. It is always open, ready to welcome friends, but also travelers, and even strangers, to offer either a steaming drink of tea to restore strength in the cold of winter, or a sip of fresh milk to provide refreshment on steamy summer days. This was the experience of the Catholic missionaries from other countries who were welcomed here as pilgrims and guests, and gently and entered on tiptoe into this culture, bringing their humble testimony to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Together with this human space, the ger also expresses an essential openness to the divine. This spiritual dimension is represented by its overhead opening, which admits a beam of light that makes the interior, as it were, a great sundial, marking through an interplay of light and shadow the hours of day and night. There's a beautiful lesson in this. The sense of the passage of time comes from above, not simply by the flux of earthly activity. At certain times of the year, that ray then penetrates from on high and lights up the domestic altar, reminding us of the primacy of the spiritual life. In this way, the sense of human togetherness experienced in this circular space is constantly referred back to its vertical, transcendent, and spiritual vocation. Reconciled and prosperous humanity that we as followers of different religions seek to promote is thus symbolized by this harmonious togetherness and openness to the transcendent. And this in turn inspires a commitment to justice and peace, grounded in our relationship to the divine. In this sense, dear brothers and sisters, we share a great responsibility, especially in this period of history. For we are called to testify to the teachings we profess by our behavior. We must not contradict them and thus become a cause of scandal. There can be no mixing then of religious beliefs and violence, of holiness and oppression, of religious traditions and sectarianism.
La memoria delle sofferenze patite nel passato.
May the memory of past suffering
Penso soprattutto
here,
alle comunità
I think especially of the Buddhist communities,
dia la forza di trasformare
bestow the
le
strength
ferite
needed
oscure
to
in
transform
fonti di
dark
luce,
wounds into sources of
insipienza
light,
della violenza, insaggezza,
senseless violence into wisdom
il
of
male
life,
che rovina il bene,
devastating evil,
in bene che costruisce. Così sia per
in
noi,
evil that
discepoli
destroys
incessati
into constructive
dei
goodness.
maestri spirituali e servitori.
May it be so for us as committed followers of our respective spiritual masters and faithful stewards of their teachings, ever ready to offer the beauty of those teachings to those whom we daily accompany as friends and companions on our journey. For in a pluralistic society committed to democratic values, such as Mongolia is, every religious institution duly recognized by civil authority has the duty, and above all the right, to freely express what it believes in a way respectful of the conscience of others and in view of the greater good of all. In this regard, I would like to reassure you that the Catholic Church desires to follow this path, firmly convinced of the importance of ecumenical, interreligious, and cultural dialogue. Her faith is grounded in the eternal dialogue between God and humanity, incarnated in the person of Jesus Christ, with humility and in the spirit of service that inspired the life of her Master, who came into the world not to be served, but to serve. The Church offers the treasure she has received to every person and culture, remaining in a spirit of openness and in respectful consideration of what the other religious traditions have to offer. Dialogue, in fact, is not antithetical to proclamation. It doesn't level differences, but helps us to understand them, to preserve them in their distinctiveness, and to discuss them openly for the sake of mutual enrichment. In this way, we can rediscover in our common humanity blessed by heaven the key to our journey on this earth. Brothers and sisters, we share a common origin that confers equal dignity, that confers the same dignity on everyone. And we have a shared path that we can only travel together as we dwell under the same sky that surrounds and illumines us. Brothers and sisters, our coming together here today is a sign that hope is possible. To hope is possible. In a world rent by conflict and discord, this may seem utopian, yet the greatest undertakings are hidden and almost perceptible. While the fragrance of flowers spreads only in the direction of the wind, the fragrance of those who live according to virtue spreads in all directions.
Virtù si diffonde in tutte le direzioni. Facciamo fiorire questa certezza.
Let us make this certainty flourish, so that our common efforts to promote dialogue and to build a better world will not be in vain. Let us cultivate hope. As a philosopher once said, everyone was great in proportion to the object of his hope. Those are great by hoping for the possible, another by hoping for the eternal, but he who hoped for the impossible was the greatest of all. May the prayers we raise to heaven and the fraternity we experience here on earth nourish seeds of hope. May they be a simple and credible testimony to our religiosity, our walking together with eyes lifted to heaven, our living in this world in harmony. Let's not forget this word, harmony. As pilgrims called to preserve the atmosphere of home, open to everyone. Thank you. Our Holy Father concluding his address here at this ecumenical and interreligious meeting here in Hun Theatre in Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. This is his third day of his apostolic journey here to Mongolia, the first ever for a pope.
Pope Francis баярлалаа. Thank you very much, His Holiness Pope Francis. Эрхэм итгэгч та бүхнийгээ хамтдаа дурсгалын зураг тайзан дээр ахуулахыг урьж байна. There are speakers we would like to invite to have a group photo in this stage.
So these leaders will now be joining for a group photo. For those who may be tuning in by radio, we've been also seeing in the audience various women religious who are present here in Mongolia. The first missionaries, members of the Congregation of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, arrived in Mongolia in 1992, and they were followed by the first religious sisters in 1995. The first bishop, Bishop Padilla, was ordained in 2003. This was a year after the mission in Ulaanbaatar was elevated to the rank of an apostolic prefecture, which is now headed by Cardinal Giorgio Marengo, originally from Piedmont in Italy. Catholics represent less than 1% of the population. In 1992, there were no Catholics officially registered in the country. In 2012, the official number was 725. Mongolia, as I said earlier, is not the country with the fewest Catholics visited by Pope Francis. That country would be Azerbaijan, which our Holy Father visited in 2016, which has a total Catholic population at that time of 560 people and currently stands at 60. We're going to begin to bring this live broadcast of the ecumenical and interreligious meeting that Pope Francis has participated in during his 43rd apostolic journey here in Mongolia. The Pope will now head to the apostolic prefecture, where he will have lunch in private. He'll be celebrating Mass later today at 3:00 p.m. local time for the 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time. Of course, we will be covering that, so we invite you to return with our ongoing coverage of the Pope's apostolic journey here in Mongolia. I also invite you to visit the Vatican News web portal, our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter accounts, where you'll find coverage of all Pope Francis events during his apostolic journey, as well as coverage of Vatican and world news. On behalf of Vatican Media, I'd like to thank our audio technician, Patrizio Ciprani, and our coordinator, Thaddeus Jones, and to all our media partners who've made this broadcast possible: EWTN, Shalom World Television Networks, Shalom TV, Sunday Shalom at Mendarshan TV, Salt and Light Media, Catholic Faith Network, Catholic TV, and Uganda Catholic Television, and Luminous Radio. Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ.